lady.
Hello.
Are you at Midtown, Kristen?
Yes, I'm at Midtown.
You in Maddie's room office?
Yeah, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have Hannah and Rachel do theirs upstairs on a computer just because the audio gets hectic. But during breakout rooms, I'll go up there. I'll get my steps in for the day. So
Okay.
I'll just run up because I left all their papers and my class book and stuff upstairs. So that's my plan. So you can still put, oh man, there's Nikki. She was just at Midtown. I saw her car.
Hey, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Let me admit them.
You too. Thanks for all your help today. All right.
Remember how to take this off? Do you remember how to take this off? Audio? This right here. Maybe it's just on real.
See. All right, let me start seeing who's here.
Hey, Dana.
Yeah.
Rachel might be just a little late. So Hannah's going to be down here with me, and then I'm going to send them upstairs once Rachel's ready, okay?
Okay.
She'll be on. She'll just be maybe like a few minutes late.
Okay. So, yeah. Hi, Bree.
Hi.
Haley, I see you. Callie Ann. That's Madison, right, Angie? You're kind of far back. I can't see you very good. Is Madeline going to get to join today? She will. Okay. And then I know that probably Jessica's not going to get to, or Courtney, one of them.
No, neither one.
Okay. I had talked to Cheryl earlier, so I figured, but just making sure. Okay. Stephanie's here. Hi, Stephanie. Okay. And I see Hannah. We're gonna have a fairly small class today, just coverage is not very good. How's everybody doing today? All right. Jenny, I see Jenny. I think Cameron's having a little bit of trouble with hers. And it's quiet.
Trying to stuff folders too.
Hi, Madeline. Or Maddie, I'm sorry. You said call you Maddie.
I hope it's gonna be new hire.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Kaylee texted me and said they're having some troubles, but they'll be getting on when they can. So today after new hire ends, we are going to, those of you who are in the CDA class, we're going to stay on for a little bit and just clarify some things. Susan and Rosemary, I don't think they can probably hear me. They do not have to do the CDA. Stephanie, you do not have to. If you choose to, that's up to you. So just letting you know. Okay, the rest of you, you get to do it. Oh, Kellyanne, not you. But we clarified that with you earlier. So I was just kind of clarifying with those other girls, but you, yes, you do not have to do it. Okay. All right, well, today we're going to talk about communication, but I'm pretty sure Kristen probably has an icebreaker for us. So let's start with that.
Okay, so I put together a Price is Right game because I want to give you like a little bit of a backstory. So the coaches know this, Lynn knows this. I worked here, this is my 12th year. And when I first started working at Head Start, we had some nice things, but we also had a lot of hand-me-downs. We had a lot of garage sale items that we used in the classroom. We had a lot of just stuff the kids loved, but older. And so when Ashley and Whitney kind of got in power, they did like this mass overhaul. And so that was when we really started ordering a whole bunch of new, great, fantastic items that all of you can find in your classrooms. So I put together 10 items that you either have some of them in your classroom or you've seen them in other classrooms. And we're going to guess through chats how much you think these items are, because we really want the best for our kids and we put a lot of money into the best classrooms we can give them. So everyone's going to stay muted, and coaches, you can play this even though they might have an unfair advantage because they used to do a lot of ordering of this stuff. So I didn't use Amazon. I'm gonna warn you, I did not use Amazon. So you're gonna be really surprised with some of these prices because I got them from some of the websites that we typically order from. So Discount School Supply, Constructive Playthings, those kind of sites. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna use the chat and you're going to guess how much each item is. And I'm gonna try to even make this fun and do it like you would see on The Price is Right. So are you guys ready? I'm gonna show a picture. So if it's bad, let me know, okay? All right, so the first item up for grabs is a child-sized LED light table with storage. The wooden base is 24 inches high, bright LED light, 24-inch square surface, and storage shelf below. How much do you think this item is?
Obviously, you can't go off the coaches because we are way off from each other.
Okay, let's see. Stephanie, do you have a guess? Teresa, do you have a guess? Teresa and Jenny. Okay. Uh-huh. She didn't send it in the email. Let me go.
It's on the email on my phone, but I don't have my.
Oh. Okay, hold on. All right. Has everyone guessed? Bree, you gonna give a guess? Bree's this up so she can see, like, she'll probably see a lot of this stuff in her career with Head Start. Okay. The actual price of this item is $420. So without going over, the closest person was Bree. Yay, Bree. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to try real quick. Hold on. Okay. So the second item up for grabs, it's not really, you're just going to find them in your classroom, is these lovely things. The Clear Colors Magnetiles 100-piece set. It's 100 pieces, colorful and translucent magnetic tiles, ages 3 years and older. This is probably some of the most popular toys in our classrooms. So we got 150, 125, 80, 95, 150 to 200. Andy, that's cheating. You can't put 150 to 200. Got to pick one number, girls. Okay. All right, has everybody guessed? The actual price of this item is $130. So Dana was the closest. We order these a lot. These are, like I said, a hot item. Okay. Let's see. All right, this next item, you might not all have these in a classroom. So let's see if you do. Okay. Is Hollow Blocks. This is the introductory set. It's got 13 pieces, includes 5 squares, 2 double squares, 2 half squares, 2 ramps, and 2 long boards. It's made of Baltic birch. It's strong resistance to denting, gouging, splintering, and cracking, which is very important in our classrooms. And it's for ages 3 years and older. Oh, okay. So
Angie's still trying.
Yeah, Angie
still
said
trying.
she didn't go between numbers. She's doing that ish.
They were 130, Lynn. I won.
So Sound 9 says 400-ish. I'm going to just count that as 400. Ish doesn't count in this game. 330, 500, 125, 350, 501. Dana, you're that person. Okay, has everyone guessed? Oh, Teresa and Jenny are doing sense now. Jane's 5. Gosh, you guys are getting real crazy over here. So the actual price of that item is $400. Congratulations, South 9. You didn't need that ish. Okay. So this is something you've all seen. This is the Woodcrest kitchen. It is solid hardwood units that are just the right height for serious work and play. Ooh. Haley says 1,100. Stephanie, 1,200. Man, you guys are thinking these are expensive, don't you? South 9th, 800. James, 749. Bree, 700. Dana, 950. Lynn, 701. Hannah, we're playing Price is Right. You can get on the next one because you just got in. Okay, has everyone guessed? All right, the actual cost of these is $1,250. So Stephanie, with her 1,200, she got it. Okay, we'll just do a few more. I'm gonna get in like weird ones that you guys are gonna be like, what? Let's see. I'll do that one and that one because that one was shocking. Okay. So this is from the same company that did the kitchen set. It's the 4-foot creative unit. So a lot of people have these in their art area. Organized storage of art supplies in a spacious, convenient unit. Children select their own materials from the attractive, accessible display. Connectable furniture, join modular shelves, panels, arches, and gates to create room dividers, define spaces, and establish boundaries. No tools needed. On-off mobility, hidden wheels roll when you need them to, yet immobilize quickly for a perfectly stationary shelf. Thing is safe, guys. All right. How much do you guys think this for? You can go upstairs. How much do you guys think that art shelf is? Hannah says $6.99. $2.50. Man, Lynn, you're low on that one, huh? $6.49. I think Jane and Callie are really hoping they're gonna get like a weird number. They're gonna win with their weird numbers here. Dana, it is really weird talking to people that are all on mute. I see what you mean now.
Isn't it? It's kind of creepy.
Any other guesses? Okay. This shelf unit is $1,010. So who was the close without going over? Was it Dana again? Dana, are you the closest?
I think it was me. I'm surprised. I figured someone would guess like 1,000.
Okay. So I'm going to do one that some of you actually might not have seen, but it's a really cool item. You can find it in Cameron. And I think the new North Side will also have it. Right. Okay. So this is called the Indoor-Outdoor Activity Course. It's a 6-piece set. It's rugged, easy clean polyethylene with UV stabilizers. Includes tunnel, slope, bridge, and stair blocks, which securely join together. You need 12 feet by 5 feet for this item, ages 3 to 6. And you need to allow 4 to 6 weeks for delivery. So this is a really cool item because it's a jungle gym essentially, and you can make it however you want it. So above 600, okay. Stephanie says 899. You guys all, I need to start marking where you guys started. Who was the first one to guess? Dana, were you the first one to guess?
Me.
Yeah. Okay. 1,500, Plattsburgh 1,800, Bree says 1,000, Jane 1,149, and Hannah 1,600. The actual price of this is $950. So that'd
Stephanie.
be Stephanie again. Stephanie, you need to go on The Price is Right. Okay. So the last one we're going to do, this is a consumable. So we go through a lot of consumables. And so we do typically try to find the cheapest place to get a lot of our consumables as long as they're high quality. We don't like cheap stuff. We've done cheap stuff and we learned our lesson. So this is the Colorations Incredible Foam Dough Bucket set of 4. So I'm not going to go through the details because as you can see, there's a lot of them, but it is basically foam. So it's that sticky stuff with little foam, styrofoam balls in it. Dana says 49. Haley says 80. Hannah says 60. South 9 says 40. Bree 50. $50, $39.95. I am going to tell you, Jane, I rounded up because I didn't know anybody was going to guess cents. All right.
So, hey, Kristen, I'm not making those guesses.
Me either. Oh, no.
Okay. The actual cost of this is $58. So, Hannah, you were really close, but you went over by 2. So, Bree and Lynn, you guys got that one. So, all right, that's it.
Well, that was fun. Was you surprised on any of those prices? There's a lot of money in our classrooms, isn't there?
The magnet tiles, and we need like 3 more sets of them because everybody wants them.
Oh, I know. They're like the most popular item in the classroom.
And I'm like so out of touch.
Precision boards. The ones
All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Brighton flipped it over and pick the foam off the back too.
Okay, we're going to talk today about communication. We've already done our icebreakers. So our objectives today are to recognize the stages of language development, to create an environment that supports language and literacy, to support children's oral language development, dual language learners, reading development, writing development, and to partner with families in literacy. So, did I miss a page? No, okay. So let's talk about stages of language development for a minute. I know that I think Madison's our only early one with us today. The girls from Cameron were not able to join us. Oh, Hannah, you're an early, right? I think. Okay, so stage 1 of language development is obviously crying and cooing. Typically happens between 6 to 8 weeks of age. And so one thing you'll notice is changing in the vocal apparatus to communicate needs. Around that age, you can start telling if they're crying because they're hungry, they're just tired, they're wet. And then newborns use eye contact and gestures to communicate. As early as 3 months, infants began to learn conversational skills of turn taking. Have you ever done that with a baby where you make a noise, ooh, and they go, ooh, back? It's so cute, but they're learning how to have conversations at that time. They also recognize familiar voices and natural rhythms from the womb. Then we have stage 2. This is the babbling. And it happens around 6 to 12 months. So you'll hear short strings of various sounds accompanied by distinct intonation patterns. They'll use a large range of sound. You'll recognize syllable combinations. You know, you might hear mama, baba, gaga. And so the child will also begin to experiment with their tongue, their teeth, and their lips to produce sounds. Some will stop the babbling when they're beginning words, and then some will mix babble and words. We have stage 3. So we're going through these stages for a few minutes before we get into some interactive things. So first, words between 12 and 18 months. So they'll have isolated identifiable words. Usually mommy and daddy are some of the very first. The child concentrates on specific sound patterns or words. Some children begin speaking in phrases, but to the child, it is one word. So you might hear things like all gone, You know, when they start talking about their food, they say all gone. It's one word to them and in their mind, and it sounds like that, but we know it's all gone. So they make it into one word. You'll hear accidental and purposeful practice, which leads to a repertoire of sounds and combination of sounds. There'll be pretend words, so a made up word that could mean something. I just always remember the story my mom told me that I always asked for a snaggin, and I would get really mad at her because she didn't know what that was, but she finally figured it out after a few months. Apparently it was napkin, so these made up words, they hear them the way they hear them. And the first true words are between 9 and 12 months usually. You won't hear them earlier than that. Sometimes you don't hear them until after that. And it's not a big concern if you don't hear them until after that. You just have to kind of keep an eye on them and keep working with them. I will say my grandson, he did not have good language development until he was over 2. And honestly, I was really kind of concerned about him. He really was not forming a lot of clear words, and he's now 5 and he has a very large vocabulary and he speaks very clearly. So sometimes it's concerning, and they did end up having a lady come from First Steps and check him out, and she was like, he's fine. So when there is a concern, there's nothing wrong with having someone come, professional, and tell you, because sometimes there is a real concern, sometimes there's not. So then the stage of first sentences. So this happens around the second part of the first year, so around up to 2 years old. So you'll hear children combine isolated words to form telegraphic special words. So like 2 to 3 word sentences, and they'll use the most important words. Like if they want to go to your house, to say, I go you house. They'll pick out the most important words. They'll leave out articles and prepositions and conjunctions. And they'll use adjectives plus nouns like big ball, or verbs plus noun like want milk. And children typically hear over 100,000 words each day. Now, depending on their home, depending on their parents, depending on a lot of things, that varies. So children need to hear a lot of words. The more words they hear, the larger their vocabulary will be. So we want to encourage parents to talk to their children a lot, to use a lot of words, to use a lot of vocabulary. Then around 25 months to 4 years, children master most of the sound system. They learn thousands of words and gain control over most grammatical constructions. And I'm sure that if you work with 3 to 5-year-olds, you realize that that's true. Okay, so creating an environment that supports language and literacy. Children who are exposed early to literacy and gain a foundation in it are more likely to be successful students later in life. And that is research-based, and that is a fact. So that is why we encourage reading even before children are born, in the womb, reading, and then obviously as soon as they come out, to begin reading to them. It's important that we as educators create a literacy-rich environment. And by that, we want to have books, writing, and language displayed all throughout the room. Even in an infant room, there's really no reason that these things shouldn't be displayed. They really should. We want to expose children to language all throughout the day. We want to have conversations, talk about what you're doing, talk about what they're doing, label items with your words, encourage their language, introduce new words, and be descriptive. Even with babies, we want to repeat what they're saying. We want to say exactly what they're saying, and we want to add to that as well. Even with babies, we can scaffold. So if they're saying baba, we can say ba, bottle. We can say da, daddy. It's important that we're repeating, and then also, like I said, developing that language, bringing it to a higher level. And being descriptive, using adjectives, using adverbs. Those are important with children. And we want to read books throughout the day as a group. So we're going to talk a little bit later about the read alouds, and hopefully those are happening in the 3 to 5 rooms, but also reading books individually. Both of those are important and need to be happening throughout the day. So when we think about infants and toddlers, we want to display colorful pictures of familiar people and objects at eye levels. So we want the children to be able to see them. Now we know in infant toddler rooms, those children are pretty low to the ground. In the infant room, they're pretty much on the ground unless they're being held. So think about that, displaying pictures and things at very low levels. And we want to label the photos with the names of the people and objects pictured. Again, we know babies cannot read, but they need exposure to language and to written words. We want to write information in front of them so that they can see us doing it. We want to use signs, pictures, labels, and charts to communicate important information. Point to your schedule, show your toddlers where you're at, what you're doing, so that they become, that is the first step in reading, for them to associate signs and pictures with meaningful language. So point it out, this is what we're doing right now. We're in work time, or we're at small group, or we're eating. And it's the first part of communicating with written language. So provide age-appropriate books also throughout the setting that you and mobile infants can access. We want them to become familiar with books and use and feel like they are available to them. I realize that we're going to have some books that we're going to put up that we don't want torn up, but there should always be books accessible to children. You know, for infants and toddlers, of course, they're going to want to stick it in their mouth. So you're going to want to provide books that can withstand that as you teach them how to use the books. You know, you want the hardback books or even the soft cushy books. So the plastic ones, they're made for the infants, but we still want to expose them. And then there's times that we want to bring those other books out when we're reading individually and point out pictures and show things to them. And so they can watch us, how we turn pages, how we read, how we notice things in books. So we also want to label cubbies with photographs and names. Books should be placed all throughout the room. Again, a variety of books, picture books, soft, hardback, vinyl, textures, and books that make sounds. So when we think about the twos rooms, we can add a little bit more to that. We want to provide materials and toys that encourage communication and pretend play. A lot of language happens during pretend play. And we are to scaffold that. We are to help with that. We are to label the things they're doing and to build upon that and help them to extend their vocabulary. We want to create books and sets of picture cards that we put together. Things like the class schedule, how to line up. Your children will line up much easier if they have a picture of how to line up, especially with 2-year-olds. Visuals are big. Include props and activities that support the development of fine motor skills that children need for writing. Label shelves with pictures and print in a 2-year-old room. Create a few simple areas where toddlers can explore toys and materials. Add books and writing materials throughout the setting. When we think about that, let's stop there just for a minute. When you think about writing materials in your different various areas, whether it's a toddler room or whether it's a 3 to 5 room, talk to me about some of the materials that you could put out in the different areas.
Talk about some of the different things you could put out. Could you repeat the question, Dana?
Yes. Talk to me about some materials that you could put out that would encourage writing in the various areas.
Whiteboards.
Whiteboards,
Clipboards with paper.
flipboards with paper. What else? What else would encourage writing skills, literacy?
In our writing area, we have like cards, and they love to write cards, and we actually have a mailbox. They love to mail their own cards.
Yeah, that's great. What else?
Like our whiteboard with the dry erase markers.
Who said that?
Hannah.
Okay, it didn't light up, and I was like, "Who's talking?" Okay, yes, definitely the whiteboard with the dry. Kids love those too, right?
And chalk on the playground, maybe.
Mm-hmm. For sure. You know, even like the magnetic boards, what were those called? That you write with a magnetic pen on a, what are those called? Anybody know what
Magnadoodle.
Yeah, Magnadoodle. Thank you. I cannot, the name slipped my mind. Yeah, Magnadoodles. I mean, doesn't have to be elaborate. And when you think about the clipboard, kids love that because, that's like professional and that invites pretend play, but also makes their writing easy. They can make grocery lists on that. I think even supplying things like the Post-it notes, children can use those. One of the things that I always created every year in my classroom was an office area, and children loved that. We would have Post-it notes. We'd have all the types of writing utensils, all types of writing paper. We'd have staplers. We'd have tape. We'd have cards, everything that encouraged any type of writing, and they just loved it.
Dana,
Yes.
what things would you use for an infant room?
Well, so you're not going to, in the infant room, you're going to be developing their fine motor skills through toys rather than some type of writing utensils, but rattles are definitely going to increase their it's going to be the beginning, that grasp, right? That's where they're going to start with the whole grasp, and then they're going to end up moving to this. So depending on the age, if they're very young, you're going to give them things that are easy to grasp. The rattle, those balls, the O balls that they can fit their fingers in, those types of things. But as they get older, you can give them little smaller things that they have to use their pincer grasp to pick up. But a lot of that happens during feeding time. So when they have the little bitty things they have to eat, a lot of that just happens really naturally. But one thing I would encourage you strongly to do in the infant room and the toddler room, as you're beginning to teach them to use utensils, because that's definitely going to develop their fine motor skills, give them spoons to use when they're not eating. Give them spoons to use during different activities like water play, or if you have the large pom-pom balls, which of course you're going to be right there beside them because you're going to know they're going to try to put them in their mouth, but different things that they could try to scoop with. What else, Lynn? What else could they scoop with their spoons? You know how you encourage infant play with spoons outside of eating time? What is some of the things that your girls have done? Do you remember, like with spoons? That can't think of anything, but think of that. Think of things that you can use spoons for outside of eating time so that they can work on those skills. You can even get them the big spoons to begin with, like the ladles and things like that. And that's really going to increase those fine motor skills. And so you really wouldn't encourage writing utensils until they're probably about a year. Then you could probably give them fat crayons. And I would do that with 1 or 2 children at a time, so you can really show them that they're writing, and of course keep it from getting in their mouth, and just really monitor that. Even around 1, you can probably teach them to scribble some, it's probably going to last like 1 or 2 minutes for that activity at the most, but that's age appropriate. A 1-year-old's going to have a 1-minute attention span, but it's introducing them. You could give them a paintbrush too, like probably maybe I would say a little bit older than that, maybe around 15 months, give them water and a paintbrush and let them paint toys, not really paint, but with water, paint toys, paint the table, paint the chair, paint a piece of paper. That's going to increase their fine motor skills. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah, I think usually with the ones and infants, we just usually give them a chance to be familiar with the materials instead of actually using them. So holding them and just manipulating them is all that we kind of do. We really don't do a lot of scooping at that time, especially when they're infants. We just let them hold it while they're at lunch or things like that, but we don't really expect them to use it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yes, thank you, Lynn.
Okay.
And she's absolutely right. But I do want to encourage you. So when they get old enough that you want them to use a spoon, do other activities with them. That's not just mealtime with the spoon. Bree, your cat's nose. I was like, what in the heck is looking at me? And that was the cat's nostril, I think. Anyway, okay, so let's continue on here. Okay, so so when children begin to create with literature, you want to make sure you're writing down their ideas. So if they draw a picture or they paint a picture and they tell you what it is, it's important that you're writing down what they say. They need to see that we write and how we write we go from left to right, and they need to be getting exposed to what words look like. So write down and write it in front of them. And then we want to label containers with pictures of items that belong inside, so they can begin to do word association with items. Provide real world reading materials, including newspapers, magazines, toy store catalogs. It used to be at this time of year, we'd all get those Christmas catalogs, right? We don't really get them anymore, but you can get the ads like in the newspapers. And I mean, some of them do come out. An Amazon one came to my son's house the other day. So things like that, the kids love, but you could also give them the catalogs that we get, like the Lakeshore. If we still get them, do we still get them? I don't know, but if we still get them, those are great, and the kids love them, and that exposes them to print. And also, like in your house areas, you could put things like restaurant menus. Those are going to expose them to print. And then, so you want to place books also throughout the room within the children's reach. So we talked about that. Preschoolers, a lot of the same, but you also want to make sure you're displaying children's names a lot. You want it to be on their photos and their cubbies. You want it to be throughout the room in different places, maybe on the family tree. You're going to, of course, have it on your helper board, different things like that. So you want them to be exposed to their name a lot. You want to have a lot of books. And one of my favorite things always to do was have the children create books. So what we did, and you don't have to do this, but this is just an idea. So back in the day when we had themes, okay, which I know we still kind of sometimes have a theme, but we really wrap it around the KDIs and the core, which is what we should do. But back in the day, let's say it was this time of year, we were talking about pumpkins. We would talk about those. And then at the last day of the week, my class, we would all draw pictures about that topic. So everyone would draw a picture, and then I would write on the bottom of their picture what they said. And then we took all those pictures and we put them together and made a book. So then maybe it might say our favorite pumpkins, or what we do with pumpkins, or whatever like that. And then that went on our bookshelf, and it was available to the children during free book time whenever they wanted to look at it. And then by the end of the year, we had a shelf full of classroom books. And what we did then at the end of the year, all the children got to take 1 or 2 books home, and it was a really nice souvenir. But those were honestly the most popular books on the shelves. And the children would go and look at those, and they would love to find the picture that they made and the pictures that their friends made. And it invited a lot of conversation. They'd say, hey, this is what you do, remember? And here's what yours are doing. This is what you said, and this is what's happening. And so, creating books in the classroom is very helpful. Okay, so then, well, we don't really do children's portfolios anymore, but we used to. That was helpful. You want to place photos of children and their families in your setting. You want to label them with names and post the following things. You want to have a daily schedule, words and pictures. And okay, this has an attendance chart, which our Wishwell kind of does that. And our Safekeeper, if you're practicing those. The daily duties chart, which is your helper chart. Area signs, you should have those out. It's nice to be charting things on a fairly regular basis. If you tried apples, maybe you're going to chart who likes which one the best. If you're talking about dinosaurs, maybe you're going to chart everyone's favorite or whatever. So it's nice to have charts and to post them around the room. Hand washing charts, recipe cards, alphabet strips, potty charts for children that are potty training, and then labeling of equipment in a kid-friendly print. Here's just a few more. You want to hang samples of children's writings around the room. That's actually on your PQA. So when your coaches come to do your PQA, they're going to be looking to see if you have any samples of the children's writings hanging up. Label their artwork with sentence strips, label photos and other documentation. What else? Okay, we've pretty much covered that. So let's talk just for a minute about supporting children's oral language development. So it's really important, of course, that we not only talk and expose them to vocabulary, but that we listen, that we are very attuned to them and listening to what they say. It helps us to understand where they're in their development, what they're really talking about, and how to respond. And so there should be a balance of adult and child input. We need to be attentive and then responsive. So when I say responsive, that doesn't mean that when a child comes and shares something with us, we're like, oh, okay. Responsive is saying, oh, it looks like you worked really hard to make this truck and you're really proud of it and you wanted me to see it. Tell me about this truck. Tell me what you did with this. Tell me about the materials you used. See how that's going to invite a whole lot of conversation and vocabulary. It's going to be scaffolding on what they know. So extend on a topic, introduce vocabulary, describe what you are doing, describe what the children are doing. Okay, so I don't know how much you've heard about this yet if you're fairly new, but this is something that is in your class book. So when your coaches come around into your class, what do you call those? Class assessments. Yes, class assessments. One of the things they're going to be looking for is self-talk and parallel talk. Now, what that self-talk is, basically it's narrating the things you're doing. And parallel talk is basically narrating the things the children are doing. Now, that's really uncomfortable at first if you're not used to it. And it seems really crazy for you to say, oh, I'm putting the blue block on top of the red block. I'm laying this block across the top. Or I'm using the red crayon and I'm drawing a circle. But what that's doing is that's developing a child's cognitive skills. So number one, they're learning more vocabulary because you're labeling things. Number two, it's causing them to actually focus on and think about what you're doing. And so that's developing their cognitive skills. And so that is something to look for. And they also look for you to do that with children when they're working with the blocks. Oh, you put the blue block on top of the red block. I see you built a tower that's this one's taller than this one. That's because you used more of these blocks than these blocks. You know, so again, when you're doing that, you're labeling things for them, you're teaching them vocabulary, and you're also expanding their cognitive thinking skills. Because then when you say to them, you put that blue block on top of the red block, they may not even be aware that they put the blue block on top of the red block. They know they're building, but they may not have really stopped and thought about that. And so when you say that, then they're thinking, oh, I did put the blue block on top of the red block. Yeah, now I noticed that. They're becoming very conscious and aware of what they're doing and of the language used. Does that make sense? Okay. So another way to introduce vocabulary is singing songs. And repeat things that the children say, clarify, use rhyming games. Rhyming is so important for children's vocabulary, for their learning, for literacy. It teaches them so much with rhyming. It's important that they learn that. We need to use alliteration. So alliteration is using words that begin the same way, that begin with the same sound. One of the things we used to sing was like the bee on the bus goes buh, buh, buh. And then we'd say things that start with buh so that they would understand, you know, alliteration, not that word, but understand things that start with the same sound. Doing finger plays, clapping syllables. That helps children learn to read. Sounds crazy, but it really does. So one of the things that we would do is hickety pickety bumblebee. And so we would just go, I would pat my leg like this, hickety pickety bumblebee. Can you say your name with me? And then we would clap their name, Callie or Callie Ann. And then we would say, how many claps was it? And then they wouldn't always know. So we would do it again, Callie Ann. 1, 2, 3. Helps them so much. And also with self-regulation. All that rhythmic stuff helps children with self-regulation. So that's a great way. Also, you can utilize those things during transitioning. Keeps the children busy. Okay, displaying books. Why display books? Because we want children exposed to them. We want their interest. We want them to be able to take hold of them and get used to them. You should display them all around the room. So how often should they be accessible? All day long. Now, am I going to let them go over there and get one during lunchtime? No, I'm not. I'm going to teach them that there's a time. But you know, for infants and toddlers, honestly, when it's not lunchtime, when they're on the floor, they should be accessible all the time. And then the types of books that should be in your classroom, we're going to talk about, because I'm going to break you up into breakout rooms now. And you're going to work with your coach to look at the PQA materials list. So there's the materials list that your coach will come into your classroom with, and they will be looking at the materials in your room and if you have a different variety of them. So there's one that's all about literacy. And so I'm going to break you up now, and you guys are going to kind of go over that. And what I want you to do is think about that. I want you to think about, okay, do I have these materials in my room? And if not, you know, are they put away and do we just need to bring them out, or is it something we need to order? Okay. All right. So I'm going to break you out. We're going to do 4 rooms. Okay, room 1, it's going to be Jane with Callie Ann. And I'm going to put Cameron in there because I know that Callie has to go here in a little while. Who is 7038 teacher?
It's Lynn.
It's me. I switched person.
Okay, just making sure. I want to know so I could divide everyone correctly. Okay, great. Okay,
Can't see
breakout
me?
room 2 is going to be Kristen with Hannah and Bree. I'm going to put Bree with you, Kristen. And then Angie is with her girls. And then in the last room, it's going to be Teresa, Lynn, Stephanie, and oh, Haley, I'm going to put you in with the first group. Sorry, didn't mean to leave you out, girly. Okay, we're going to go in here for about, I think it's going to take a little time to review this list. So let's do 8 minutes and see how that goes. Okay, here we go. Okay, so does everyone feel like that was enough time to go through your list or no? Some yeses and some nos.
They said yes.
Not really, Miss Dana.
Okay.
But I mean, it depends on how thorough you are and how much many books you have out too.
Okay, so that's okay. So it just gives you opportunity to talk with your teachers and coaches about things. It just kind of makes you aware. But so what did we notice that we're doing well on?
And that's what I said too, like, I didn't know we.
Having books out.
With us, we have books kind of all throughout our classroom. We don't have books just in the library. Like we have books in our house area. We have books in our block area. We also, I believe, have them in our writing and art area. So we have them all throughout the room. So if kids want to read, they can, and they're not the same books. In all of the areas, they're different books.
And honestly, that's exactly how you should be doing it. It should be books in every area, different types of books. Yes, even in your art area, you can put things in there that you're not afraid to put in there. Like we talked about the constructed playthings or lakeshore books that they could cut, that they could color on, that they can mark on, newspapers, that type of thing. There's always a way to put books and writing utensils in every area. So what else are we doing well?
I was gonna say, both of my centers, both of them have books in like every area, which is great, but I like your creative. I don't think, and please, Stephanie, and I'm sure about 100%, but I like your creativity about putting in like the menus from the takeout places and stuff. I know Savannah doesn't have that, and I'm not sure that Maysville has that side of the creativity part of it. I thought that was kind of unusual, but yet literacy could be everywhere.
We have the menus and we have they can actually fill out their order. Like they could play waitress. They have the ticket books. They have all of that.
I think some of your best books though are some of the ones that you make, like from things they've done in the classroom, how you put those together, because children are more familiar about their experiences than a book. You understand what I'm saying? It's like those ones are really great because then you can kind of narrate it, and it's from whatever they.
Yeah, that's what, like when I was sharing earlier about ours, honestly, that was the favorite books. The favorite books in the rooms were the ones he created. So where are some areas that we're struggling in? Is there anything we noticed that we need some help with, whether it's because we need to purchase it or we just haven't thought to put it out?
My center was basically saying they feel like we need more ABC books and number books and things like that out. I think the COVID kind of took away from a lot of stuff that they would have out automatically. So I think that, they're having trouble with how much they can put out, because whatever they put out, they have to clean.
Yeah.
So that's a struggle too.
So just being very intentional, and I'm sure that you are, but being very intentional with what you put out, that it's purposeful and that it's of interest to the children. And, if you so sometimes it really is hard to find ABC books that the children find interesting. So, I think researching that, even like looking things up about different books, whether it's through Scholastic or Amazon or constructed playthings or whatever, looking up fun ABC books, fun number books, whatever things, and think about what your kids' interests are.
Because I know we used to do Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, but now I notice that it's a kind of really long book for some kids, so it doesn't really see the need for them, because it's a very long book. When you look at it, the one that I saw them read last week was very long, and I was like, oh, I'm tired of this book myself, so.
I always hated that book.
I didn't like it either. I didn't like it either. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But when I think about numbers, the books that the kids like are like the books like Five Little Monkeys Jumping on the Bed.
Mm-hmm.
Or what, those types of books. They love those because they're sing-song books. And, it's fine that it just goes to 5, but you can find some that go a little higher, but, really researching that. And, so like, I mean, if they really love dinosaurs, find maybe a dinosaur ABC book, or if they really love, if you have a really, a classroom full of boys and they love trucks, maybe finding that, or, girls with princesses, I don't know, research it and see, just get very intentional, because we don't want to put books out just to put books out, right? We want them to be books that they're going to take an interest in and look at. But here's the thing too. Sometimes they just need us to show an interest in it, and then they do. So if we sit down and we pull that book off the shelf and we read it with them that they've never touched, they may suddenly find that they really like it, because you know why? Because you spent time reading it to them. So now it's a meaningful book. So that's just something to think about with our books. Okay, let's go back to sharing here. Okay, we're going to talk about read alouds for a minute. Let me stop sharing before I show you the video. Okay, so read alouds should happen in 3 to 5 rooms every single day. I really don't think that they are currently a part of the 0 to 3 curriculum. But if you're a toddler teacher, it would be really good to start implementing them, because they are very beneficial. So the way that a read aloud looks, in case that you're not yet implementing it, or maybe you're not sure about how to implement it, read alouds, you are to divide into small groups. Read alouds are not where you read to the group as a whole. And so this is supposed to happen every day in your classroom. You split into groups. Hopefully the same small groups that you do for small group would be the groups you would use for your read alouds. It's just too confusing to try to split children up in, okay, during read aloud, you're in this group, but during small group, you're in that group. That's just too much. It should always be the same groups. So however many small groups you have, that's how many read alouds you really should have. If you have 3 teachers and you want to do 3 read alouds, I encourage that, because it's a smaller group. But if you have some children who are difficult to handle and you feel like you need 2 groups, okay. But it should be happening in small groups. That is what a read aloud is. It is not a read aloud in a large group. If you do it in a large group, that's like a story time. And if you want to put story time on your schedule, you can. You can have a story time and a read aloud, but you have to have a read aloud, and they need to be done in small groups. And so during read alouds, they can look different. Usually you pick out a book that you would read for more than one day, because the point of the read aloud is to really expose the literacy and language and to really explore the book. Ideally, you would probably use the book for a week. And again, it's purposeful. So you're putting on your lesson plan the things you're going to do. So maybe the first day you're just going to introduce the book. Maybe you're going to just talk about what's on the cover and make guesses about what the book might be about. And talk about vocabulary, point at some interesting vocabulary on the front of the book. And maybe that's all you're going to do that first day. And then maybe the second day you're going to read the book and you're going to have some intentional questioning happening during there. And you're going to allow for time for the children to ask questions during the story. And then maybe the third day, you're going to do the same thing. I don't know. And then maybe the fourth day, you're going to have a little activity that goes along with it that reinforces it. I don't know. That's just an idea. That's just a thought. You can really tailor it as your own, as long as you realize that it's about literature and language and literacy. I know people who have done games with vocabulary words, like they pointed out vocabulary words within there and they've done games. Maybe you're going to do a book on opposites. And then maybe that fourth day, you're going to talk about all those opposite words. And then maybe you're going to do pictures and they're going to do a matching game with it. And that's going to expose them again to vocabulary and opposites. So I want you to really think outside the box with this, and not just think of it as time that we're just sitting down and reading a book every day. It's about way more than reading a book. Okay. All right. So I'm going to show you this lady who's doing a read aloud. And what she is doing is she is just reading the book, but I want you to notice her open-ended questioning and different things that she's doing in this. Okay.
Hi guys, Jenny here again for another read aloud. Today's book is called Nursery Rhymes by Mary Novick and Jenny Hale. I chose this book because I remember that when we were still in school together, we really enjoyed saying nursery rhymes, like during greeting time, while we were wiping the tables, while we were getting ready to go outside, and we liked acting them out, like at large group time. So I thought it might be fun to read some nursery rhymes. Ugh, it looks like, what do you see? There's a cow jumping over the moon. There's a cat playing the fiddle. A fiddle is a kind of a musical instrument, also called a violin. There's a dog laying on its back. It looks like it might be laughing. I wonder if that's from one of the nursery rhymes. Let's see. This book also has a little bit of a special surprise that you'll see on the inside. Oh no, it's a pig crying. Let's see. Okay, so the first one says, "Hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock." So there's the mouse. Look, there's a little page that we can lift up. There's a little flap. Let's see what's underneath it. "The clock struck 1, the mouse ran down, hickory dickory dock." So it had the other part of the story underneath the flap. Oh, look. It looks like when the clock was 1 o'clock, this thing popped out. Looks like it scared the mouse. Maybe that's why the mouse ran back down. All right, this one says, "Little Bo Peep has lost her sheep and can't tell where to find them." So this must be Little Bo Peep. She's looking for her sheep. I wonder who they could be. Oh, looks like this one has a flap too. Let's see. Oh, there they are. It says, "Leave them alone and they'll come home, wagging their tails behind them." They're following her home. There's another nursery rhyme we used to sing in our classroom. It goes, pat a cake, baker's man. Bake me a cake as fast as you can." He's pouring all the stuff in. Let's lift the flap. It says, "Roll it and poke it and mark it with a B and throw it in the oven for baby and me." They're making a cake. Look, it's got a letter B on it. Must be for baby. B for baby. Oh, can you guys guess which one this is? It looks like there's a wall with an egg sitting on top of it. You think it might be? Let's see. "Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall." Uh-oh, he fell down off the wall. "And all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again." Oh no, he's got a Band-Aid. He's got a couple of cracks in his eggshell. Oh, I wonder if you guys remember this one. "Little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet." Remember, a tuffet is kind of like a seat. "Eating her curds and whey." Do you remember what happened next in this nursery rhyme? Something's coming. "Along came a spider that sat down beside her and frightened Miss Muffet away." Oh, but look, in this picture, it's not a real spider. It's someone holding a pretend spider trying to frighten little Miss Muffet. Do you guys remember during large group time where we took turns pretending to be little Miss Muffet and the spider? And we pretended to act out the rhyme. And people pretended to be the spider and scare Miss Muffet away. That was fun. Oh, here's one about the pigs. "This little pig went to market." That means they went to like the grocery store. "This little pig stayed home. This little pig had roast beef. This little pig had none. And this little pig cried, wee, 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 all the way home. When I was a little girl, my mom and dad used to sing that nursery rhyme to me. Do you guys remember your moms or dads or grandmas or grandpas ever saying that one to you?
Okay, I want to stop here because I want us to have a little bit of conversation about this. So let's notice you tell me some of the things you noticed that happened during this read aloud that was purposeful.
Or you can type it if you want to type it.
Okay.
Say it.
When she was talking about the market, and probably some kids don't know what a market is, and she said it's like a grocery store. Explain what everything meant.
So she explained a lot of vocabulary, didn't she? Did anybody notice any other vocabulary that she explained?
She explained
Like the tough, I'm sorry, Haley, yes?
She explained what a tuppet was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like a tuppet. Yes, she did. And so what are some other things that we noticed she was purposeful about? Cameron, are you guys there? I can't see anybody.
Are we still on mute?
No.
Making connections back to the classroom. Like saying,
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. That's a really important one. Connections back to the classrooms, connections that the children would be familiar with. So that is part of your class assessment. That's on there. And also, not only did she do that, but she also brought in real life experiences, right? So she said that she remembered her parents or grandparents reading that to her. And did you remember any of your parents reading that? So connections to real life, that's also part of class. And that's a very high level of that if you're doing that on a regular basis. So good observation there. What else are we noticing? Callie-Ann, did you notice anything?
notice anything about the story?
Anything that she did that was purposeful?
Whenever she was like doing the spider, she was like, you really liked it. The kids really like it whenever we do it on the carpet. And then I reflected that towards like watching it actually in a classroom, because whenever she did that in the classroom, she actually like, I've seen it done and the kids really do enjoy that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so also, did you know she took advantage of pointing out if there was a big letter B, and she said there's a B. She drew their observation to that, and then she said B like for baby. So she did a little bit of alliteration there. And then one other thing I want to draw your attention to. So when she got to Humpty Dumpty, she said, "Does anyone remember what this one is?" And then she gave hints about it. So giving hints is also part of class. It falls under, I think, quality of feedback. And so giving hints, that's helping to scaffold the children, helping them take them from one place to another place. So see, a lot of stuff was happening just while she read that book. She wasn't hurrying through that book. It was purposeful. It was meaningful. She was relating it back to a lot of things. And that's how we want to read books. We want it to be purposeful and meaningful. And some give and take. Now, obviously, she was doing that through Zoom. So there was no children inputting at that time. But we want to allow some input within reason. We don't want to allow input to the point that it gets us totally off course. We have a goal, right? We have a purpose in mind, and we want to stick to the purpose. But we also want to allow input that is purposeful and that is going to be able to allow us to scaffold their learning. Okay? Okay, so now we're gonna go into breakout rooms again. And your coaches have chosen some pictures that you're gonna have some conversation about. And when you do, I want you to think in terms of literacy, in terms of vocabulary, and thinking in things that activities that you could create around these types of pictures that have to do with literacy. Okay, so I'm going to give us, I think we'll take 10 minutes. I think we have plenty of, I think we can definitely fill 10 minutes with these different pictures. So, okay, here we go.
Close-ended questions. I think it's taking us back because when you use close-ended, something like specific numbers or specific things. And when you're doing this, you want kids.
So Angie's saying some really good stuff. So with something like that, it can be utilized very easily as a literacy activity, just to introduce vocabulary, to label things. And so she was just saying that when using something like that, you want to make sure you're using an open-ended question. So open-ended questions, of course, are questions that require more than one word to answer. It's something they have to think about and be thoughtful about their answer. So when we ask, we can show a picture and we can just very simply say, what do we think's happening in this picture? What do we think's going on? Somebody was showing a picture. Oh, Teresa was showing the picture, and I don't know how many of you seen it, but of the little girl carrying the bucket to school. Well, we don't typically carry buckets to school anymore, do we? So, you first of all, you could say, well, did you notice she's carrying something in her hand? What do you think that is? And then you could say, now that's like a one word, that's pretty close in it, but then you could go further with open and say, well, what do you think that's for? And then we could introduce, you could relate a lot of things that, well, that's kind of like her lunchbox. Do any of you have a lunchbox or a lunch bag that you take? Or does your mom or dad have one, or your brother or sister take one? Just different ways. It just opens up a lot of conversation. And so you can see that you can just use a simple picture. You could use that as a small group project. Show that picture, have some conversation, and then create some kind of project around that. Let me see where we're at. It's 4 o'clock, and there's a few more things I know I want to go over, but I had planned at 4:30 to talk with the CDA students, but I think our contract only allows us 2 hours on Zoom. So my thought is that I might actually go ahead and just run through a couple of things and then talk to CDA students. So we're not going to do that. But I kind of feel like I touched on that a little bit today about how some of the activities relate to class. Let's just really talk for a minute about dual language learners, okay? So some of our classrooms do have quite a few dual language learners. I think that probably at this time, Northside probably has the most. I don't know, Southline probably has some. But we need to be offering them support when we don't speak their language. So that's really hard sometimes. Several years ago, probably, I don't know, 10 years ago now, I had a classroom when we had the Horace Mann Center, and out of 17 children, I had 9 Spanish-speaking children, true Spanish-speaking children. That was quite a challenge, but I learned a lot that year. But here's some things that will help you. So you always want to make eye contact, which right now that's even more important than ever when we're wearing our mask. We can say a lot with our eyes, and we need to repeat what I say, or what we say, and not loudly. They're not deaf, okay? That always cracks me up when people think that because someone speaks a different language, if they say it louder, they're going to understand. So we're not hollering at the children. We're just speaking to them. Sometimes we need to repeat what I say. You know, be intentional with your gestures, with your facial expressions and your body language. That says a lot. You know, use voice inflection for emphasis. Work one-on-one. That's easier for children who do not know the language yet. You know, it's very distracting to be in large groups, and you want them really focusing in. Use visual supports, you know, use pictures. If it's time to use the bathroom, use pictures. You know what I did? I made myself this spinning thing of note cards. And so I had one labeled bathroom time, one labeled lunchtime, one labeled lineup time, whatever. And I had a few key phrases written down. So when it's bathroom time, I could ask if they need to use the baño in the right way, you know. And when it was lunchtime, I could say, "Are you hungry?" in the right way. I just wrote down just a few key phrases, and I didn't always say it right, and sometimes they laughed at me, but at the same time, they appreciated my efforts and they got the picture. So using photos, cue cards if you need them. Post keywords and phrases in their home language around the room. When you identify, you don't have to label everything. I don't like when people label every single thing regardless, like the door and every chair and everything. That's just too much. But, you know, a few things that you're labeling around the room, go ahead and label those as well in their language so that they can be used to theirs. Give them time. Sometimes it takes a minute to respond and process what's happening. Again, narrate your actions, use simple, and here's where we want to use closed-ended questions. I'm not going to ask a Spanish-speaking child who doesn't know any language, well, what do you think's happening here? That's just not going to happen. I'm going to use closed-ended questions with them. Now, they're still going to hear all that language happening in the classroom, and that's good. And I will tell you, honestly, within 3 months of those 9 children being in my classroom, they could really communicate very well in English. Young children like that pick up the language very, very quickly and understand very, very quickly. But also to display all writing samples, no matter the language. You know, this is really about partnering with families with literacy. And that's sometimes difficult because we have to be sensitive to our families, because sometimes our families do not read. We have parents who don't know how to read. Or we have parents who don't speak English, or who can't read English, but they can speak English, or whatever. We have a variety of reasons that parents don't have literacy in their home. And so encouraging that can be a sensitive subject. And I think it's really important that we're promoting it, though. I think it can often be done through our focus sheets or whatever, what have you. I mean, just encouraging them, but, you know, also being sensitive to our parents, developing those relationships so that they feel comfortable enough to say this, well, you know, I don't read to my child because I don't know how, you know, and just being sensitive to that and, you know, telling them, you know, it's really, there's ways that they can read with you. You know, you can take a picture book with no words and just still, I'm sure that even though they don't know how to read, they can create a story in their head, you know, and if they really want that time with that child, that time to do that, you can encourage them to do things like that. I don't know, it just takes being creative, thinking outside the box, getting to know your parents and finding a way to encourage them to introduce literacy. But really our job is to really, really introduce those children to as much well, to expose them to as much language and literacy as we can so that they can be successful, because it really has been proven that children who are exposed to a lot of vocabulary are more successful in school. And that's just the facts. And everyone wants their children to be successful. So if we can find a way to help parents, that's a great thing too. Okay, I think we are at the end here. So we want to be encouraging language all throughout the day. So we want to do it through plan to review, through greetings, through morning messages, letter links, all these different ways. So, okay, so I hope everyone printed off their Fidelity focus sheet. And what I would like for you to do is to fill that out. Your focus in the circle is going to be language and literacy or communication, whichever one you want to write. And then I believe it says on there what you're doing well. And then I believe it says something about a goal or something to work on. It has 3 steps. So I would really like if you would fill that out and then just share that with your coach. Again, they're not going to come back to you and check on you and make sure you're following through on that. But the truth is, if we're not purposeful about our goals, they don't happen. And so just take time to do that. Share that with your coach if you have any questions about it. And then just as you go through this next month, being purposeful with how you expose the children to language and literacy, and just be more thoughtful about it, about the materials in your classroom, about what the children are and are not using, about your read alouds, even about how you can incorporate small group or literacy into your small group. Hey, coaches, are this year, are we still requiring that one day a week is literacy and one day a week is math and then whatever? Is that still happening this year?
Midtown is.
Good.
Honestly, Miss Dana, I kind of forgot. So
You might encourage them that way.
I'll follow up on that.
What is your question again?
Is everyone still following this year the where you do one day a week your small group is literacy, one day a week your small group is math, one day a week it's a creative piece?
I'll have to check on that since,
Can I write on this?
we
Yeah.
got back. I
You
haven't
need it?
checked
Nope.
on that. So I'll
I
check
just
on that.
wondered. I just was asking if it was still being followed.
I'll have to check on it. I haven't checked on it, so I'll check on it and see. I haven't thought about it.
Yeah, I know. It's been crazy this year.
PTAs.
It's been crazy this year. And honestly, I'm not even saying that a person should mandate that. But what I'm just saying is that when we do something like that, then we are making sure we're covering all the pieces and all the bases, and that our children are getting everything they need. Sometimes we just forget to be purposeful, and honestly, with everything that's been going on, it's harder because sometimes we're just trying to survive, right?
Yeah, Coach, I think since we forgot, they may have forgot too. So
Okay.
I can.
Am I supposed to wait to do the reflection? Do I have to do the reflection now? Language and literacy. Make sure our dual language learner. Oh,
I didn't know if you were asking a question or no. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to talk to the CDA students. So those of you who do not need your CDA, if you want to, you can go ahead and leave the meeting. That's up to you. But those of you who are part of CDA, please stay on. Okay. So first of all, I want to answer any questions that you might have. So who has a question?
Hey,
about
Dana.
CDA? Yes.
Dana, Skylar's grabbing Lisa really quick.
Okay.
So
All right,
they'll be here in
perfect.
just a second.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Hi, Maddie.
Unmute.
There you go. I don't have my books.
Well, she's the person you tell.
I mean, I have one of my books.
There's
I
an
still,
email.
yeah, I
Okay.
saw that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm missing one of my books still. But we just got an email about that today.
Just about earlier.
Do we have more than one book?
We have two books.
2. Oh, then I'm missing a book too.
Okay, who said they're missing a book?
I am then.
So I sent something out today through Edmodo. You will need to go in there and check the books that you have.
Okay.
It's going to go to Kayla. And then if you're missing a book, you can check with her and see if she has the one you're missing available for you to pick up. There's been a lot of confusion with it. And so we're trying to find a way to track who has what.
I messaged Kayla after our first Zoom meeting because that's when I realized I didn't have all the books. And she told me that they were on back order or whatever and that they should be coming in soon. And then I asked Cheryl the other day if she's been checking the mailbox, and she said they've been bringing the mail over once a week. So I'm guessing they're just not in.
They probably aren't. But I will tell you this. So get in there and click on Edmodo as soon as you can, everybody. And then Kayla and I will probably get together over it at the end of this week. And then that should help us see where everyone's out. And then she can check on those books if she needs to or what have you. And at least we'll know where everybody's at. And if it's going to be a while before those books come in, then we're going to figure out a way for you to either get some old books or share with someone until them come in. Okay. Okay. But I really need to see where everyone's at right now with the books.
I need to know if I'm doing earlier preschool.
Hannah, are you in both rooms?
Mostly right now I'm just in early, but I will be probably in both eventually. I mean, because I was hired as a
Then I feel
support
like
tech,
you
but
just
I'm
pick the one you want to do. I feel like you
Okay.
pick the one you want to do. If you're going to be sub for both, then pick the one you prefer.
Okay.
You're going to get the content for both here. It's just going to basically depend upon what you want to write about, what you feel more comfortable writing your competencies about.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
yeah,
other questions?
I'm just trying to see who all in CDA. I can't see everybody.
So we received the CDA Essentials book. Is that right? Is that the one that we've received?
Is that the one you got? This is Essentials. Oh, wait, that's not Essentials. I'm sorry. This is Essentials. Is this the one you have?
That's the one I have. Okay.
Okay. All right. So you're waiting on this one, which unfortunately, this is the one that you really need for guidance to do the CDA competency statement. So who does not have this one? So Stephanie, does anybody else not have it? I know Maddie doesn't because you don't have either one.
No, I have the early edition. I don't have the essentials.
Oh, you have this one. Okay. So is Stephanie the only one then?
I maybe need to check at home then what one I have for sure, but I think I have the other.
Okay, so everybody has this is what I'm seeing. Okay, very good. All right, so what other questions do we have right now?
Dana,
Yes,
what books does Maddie need if she's doing early?
she needs the yellow one of this.
I have
Okay,
that.
she has that one.
That's the most important one. This one's going to help you with writing your papers, but this one is not going to guide you in what you need to do as far as statements and resources, but it's going to help you in content for your papers.
Okay.
I let Hannah use Amy's until she got her own, but she could just get, yeah, that's fine. And just, Hannah, check that you have them when you do that Edmodo checklist.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. So what other questions can I answer?
Miss Dana,
Yes.
we printed out
I have your folders down
for
there.
the parent service parent questionnaires.
Yes.
What date do we put on those as the return date?
As the return date. Okay. Does everybody hear this? So she's asking, what date do you put on your family questionnaires as a return date? If you hand it out today, I would put like, I would give them
Tomorrow?
2 weeks from the day you hand it out. I think is plenty of time.
And you only have to get half of them back, right? Like
More than half.
Okay.
So if you have, how many you got, Haley, in your class? How many?
9.
So you need to get back 5.
Okay, because I've only got 4 so far. So okay.
You need to get back 5.
Where do we find all this? I guess I'm completely lost on what, and then maybe because I'm getting in the track later on than everybody else, I don't know.
So family questionnaires are located at the back of this book. Now, mine's not in here, but I'm going to show you something. The back of this book does not have page numbers, which is extremely annoying. But at the back of this book, there's what's called the comprehensive scoring instrument. Oh, my tongue won't work. This is the actual scoring assessment that will be used during your observation. This one right here. It's the exact thing that will be used. So if you want to know what you're going to be looked at, this is it. Now in front of it is, see, I do have a family questionnaire here, but it is a Spanish speaking one. Oh no, I do have one. I do have one. It looks like this. So you have to make copies of this front and back, give it to all of your families, and you have to have at least more than half returned. And it goes in your
Dana?
portfolio.
How soon can they send those out?
Now.
It says now. Okay.
Now.
Maddie's concerned because she hasn't even seen the parents. I could try to make an opportunity for her to at least get out there, at least wave at them a couple times, and then maybe be able to be a runner so she can at least greet them. And, you know, because it's hard when they haven't seen her.
Okay, you know what? If you don't have any contact with your parents, let's wait till the first of the year and see if you're able to have contact.
Okay.
And then if you are, but they're going to have to be gathered by the 1st of April at the latest. So if you're right now due to COVID, if you are not able to have any contact with your parents, let's wait till the 1st of the year and see what happens.
That might be better.
Because I don't think they can give a fair assessment.
Right. Okay.
You know, right in front of that, I don't have these pages. There should be a page that says summary of CDA. And that would list all the 6, it's going to maybe list the 6 competencies or 8. Haley, will you open your book and look for me? There's 8 competencies, but for some reason I want to say it only lists 6. But you're going to check those off at the end of the year when you have all your certificates. And then in front of that one, which I also don't have in here, but in front of that, there's a page called, I believe it's called Professional Portfolio Checklist or something like that. And what it, okay, look at this. This is Haley's. This is a summary of the CDA. It lists it does list all 8 competency areas. You will check those off at the end of the year, but they go in your portfolio. Now, Haley, show us the page previous to that, please. Okay, and what does it say the title of that is? I can't see the title. I'm sorry.
Required portfolio items.
Okay, so that's your checklist, and that's the order you're going to put everything in your portfolio in. So the first thing listed is that page. Then it's the summary of the CDA, then the family questionnaires, and then it goes on like competency statement 1, resource collection 1. And you put them in that order and check them off as you put them in your portfolio. Now they're supposed to be ordering you girls binders for your portfolios, which I need to check on that and see if they have come in yet. But they're supposed to be ordering you binders, sheet protectors, and dividers so that you can label your books easily for the observer to observe you. Your observer will probably either be Lynn or Angie or myself. So it's going to be someone familiar to you. Unless you want to pick someone else, you can. I don't think there's a lot of other people available in St. Joe, but there's probably a few. So you're welcome to do that. Rachel.
I read that it said to be observed in your classroom setting as a lead teacher. So is that a role for that day, or how's that work?
It's going to be fine. Don't worry about that. That's going to be fine. What that means is you just have to be actively participating in the classroom. Okay, interacting with the children. One thing they would want you to see is you reading the story to the children, but that doesn't mean you have to read to them as a whole group. You could be reading to a child individually in an area, but they want to see how you read to a child. So, but for the most part, it's just you interacting with the children. Yes, Rachel?
What about our first aid courses?
Do you have first, you haven't had it yet? Okay, so they should have set you up with the time to do that, but if they haven't let you know that, then maybe they haven't. So I'm gonna write down a note about that.
Me neither.
Who
Hannah.
else?
I need to.
Hannah.
Okay. Hannah, Rachel, Stephanie, who else needs CPR first aid?
Raise your hand. Some people were out of town when they did it. She was out of town and she wasn't hired yet.
Maddie needs it. What about Madison?
I have mine.
And I have mine from my last job.
You have it from your last
If
job?
it's still valid, it should be good.
She still has this from her last job.
Will you check on the date and make sure it's not expiring soon? Because if it's gonna expire soon, you probably need to go ahead and take it.
Okay.
Okay, let me know, okay?
Okay.
Okay, any other questions right now?
You could probably just look on your email.
Okay, I'm gonna review what's due by the end of this month, okay? Let me share my screen really quick. I'm gonna pull up the syllabus. Okay, so on 11/11/30, so November 30th, your first competency statement is due. So that includes, we covered safe environment, healthy environment, learning environment. It needs to be 450 words. So you would write 150 words on safe, 150 words on healthy, and 150 words on learning. Now, what will help you with that is this book. If you're not sure what to write about, this first section is divided into safe, see safe on the side, healthy, learning, and it gives you like components, like emergency plans. Listen, you don't have to write 150 words on emergency plans. Write like 2 sentences. We practice our emergency fire drills monthly. We post it, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You want 150 words on safe total. And there's like 10 headings within safe. Pick out the ones that are meaningful and write a few sentences about each one. Same thing with healthy. Okay. And you're going to have 150 words on each one in no time. Okay, Miss Jane, thank you, you too. Okay, so before I go on, any questions about that part? Okay, now let me explain something else to you. In the back, not in the back of this book, in this book where it talks about the competency statements on page 17, it tells you CS1, competency statement 1, it tells you to write a paragraph describing your teaching practices on safe, healthy, and learning. That's what I just told you about. That's your 450 words. It can be more than one paragraph, right? Safe, healthy learning. Following that, you're going to do this. CS1A, CS1B, and CS1C. These are not part of the 450 words. Neither are they required to be 150 words. The first one says, reflect on the sample menu that you chose. So you're going to pick a menu as one of your resource collections, right? So you're just going to pick your monthly menu from your center. It says reflect on it. If you designed it, how does it reflect your commitment to children's needs? So you're going to write, I didn't design it. Then it says, if you did not design it, what are its strengths or what would you change? So you're either going to write, here's what I really like about it, and here's what I don't like about it, or here's what I really like about it, and I wouldn't change a thing. Not hard, right? But you're going to label it CS1A. Same thing for CS1B, CS1C. You're going to do the very same thing. One's about the environment, one's about the lesson plan. If you didn't write them, if you didn't set up the room, you're going to say, I didn't write it. I didn't set up the room. You're going to say what you like about it, what you don't like about it, if there's anything you change. Okay, any questions about that?
Do we do that one? Do we attach it to the end of our essay, or do we post that one in Modo?
Attach it to the end of your essay,
Okay, that's what I thought.
your CS1 statement.
Okay.
Okay, and let me repeat this. In Edmodo, you can message. Message me your statement, but not your resource collection. Okay, I don't want like 20 first aid CPR cards and 20 menus and 20 whatever else they're asking you.
That must be Dave.
So only message me your competency statement, followed by that A, B, and C piece. Okay, any questions about that so far? Okay, I realize, and let me say this to you, I also understand that some of us are not used to using a platform like Edmodo and how to message. And if you're struggling with that, ask your coach, and if they're not sure, contact me and I will talk you through that. And I don't want you to feel stupid about that or foolish about that or anything like that or discouraged, because I had to learn to use it too. And so technology is new for a lot of us in some ways, especially us older ones, and we're trying to muddle through it ourselves. So if you need some help with that, please do not hesitate to ask. Also, once we get off of here, if you can't remember something and you're like, what did you mean by that? Please email me. I'll explain it to you again. I will. I know sometimes that the way that things are said, people hear differently. And I'm not going to be mad at you if you're not getting what I'm saying. I'm trying very hard to be clear, but I also know that sometimes, as hard as I try, I'm not very clear. And my job is to support you through this, and that's what I'm here for. And so there's also times I may ask to Teams with you. Teams is a way that we can talk like this face to face, but it's through an app on our email. And so if I ask you to Teams and you've never used Teams before, tell me. I would like to, but I don't know how to. And we'll figure that out too. Okay. But I like when I communicate one-on-one to communicate through Teams, because I like to be able to see your face and show you pictures and show you my screen if I need to. And so if you need to communicate with me, that's most likely how I will communicate with you. The other thing that's due on the 30th of November is your first RC1, and that includes your CPR first aid. So I understand some of you are not going to have it by then because you are not scheduled for it yet, but we'll get that taken care of. And then you're going to need a copy of your weekly menu and a copy of a weekly lesson plan. So put those together to be put in your portfolio as soon as you get your binder. The other thing I want to say to you, so in December, which is a busy month, you have 2 assignments due. One on families and one, which is competency statement 4, and then one on competency statement 2. Now, competency statement 4, the one on families, Lacey Raymond, she works for us. She is doing a training via Zoom on Monday evening, the 9th, and it's on families. I'm going to record that and post it in Edmodo. If any of you would like to listen to it live as it's happening, let me know, and I will send you that Zoom, and you will not be required to watch it later on Edmodo and answer the questions. But for those of you who are not able to join live and would just prefer to do it on your own, that's fine. You'll have to watch it later and answer the questions. But that one, you will have 450 words due about just families by the 15th of December. And then you'll have another one due on the 30th of December about your competencies 2 statement, which is part of what we talked about today. Communication, we've talked about physical development, we've talked about cognitive development. So again, you're going to utilize this and it's going to give you resources. So the second part, you write like 125 words on cognitive, 125 words on physical, 125 words on communication, and then we're going to talk about creative next time before that's due. And the reason I bring that up is if you are concerned about having a lot to get done in the month of December, then go ahead and start working on it. But if you feel comfortable with that and you feel like, well, I'll utilize my Christmas vacation to do that last piece, that's fine too. but I just want to give you a heads up. I don't want you to be like, oh, I didn't know there was 2 due in December, you know? So I just want to prepare you as much as I can.
Do
So
we know what time the training is on the 9th?
It is from 6:30 to 8:30.
Okay.
So if you want that, email me because that's how I'll remember.
I'm at job number 2 that night, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. All right. The nice thing about being able to go live is like if they're breakout rooms, you can participate. But honestly, if you have to watch it with that and with the access to this, you're going to be fine either way. So, all right. Any other questions, Rachel?
Okay, it's a two-parter. I wanted to know when we actually start our Monday night classes from 6:30 to 8:30. And then the second part is the Edmodo messages that we received saying that if you had missed anything to watch these and take the quizzes, and how do we know which ones we have missed if we have missed any?
Okay, so first one, you don't have any 6:30 to 8:30 classes. I'm just making that one available to you. And there will be a few other ones that are available to you, but they are going to be posted on an Edmodo for you to watch after they're taped if you would prefer. But you're not required to attend a 6:30 to 8:30 class. That would be your choice. And if you want it, let me know and I will send you the link. The second part of that is, Rachel, I will probably need to just email you what you missed because you started later than other people. And so it's not going to apply to everybody. So if there are any of you who are unsure about which ones that you need to view, send me an email and I will look up what you have viewed and what you have not. Rachel, would you please email me so I don't forget? Just send me an email saying, please let me know the classes I need to make up, and then I will respond to you with what you need to make up.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a question. Are the CDA emails different than the new hire emails? Are there 2 different? Because I'm not getting anything really that says anything CDA. So I just want to make sure.
No, I'm sending them all through new hire and I just
Okay.
put on their attention CDA or something if it's for the CDA students. No, they are all coming through new hire and
Okay.
just kind of, you have to pay attention if it's CDA.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, anything else? All right, let's get out of here and go home. Huh, I guess I'm gonna walk in the living room. Okay, you guys have a good night, all right? Okay.